Hi there, it's Ruth at Artful Stampin, and today I'm going to be doing a card using the new sponge brayers. Okay, so I'm also going to be using the Irresistibly Yours Designer Series paper, which already has a resist on it. Okay, it makes life so much easier. Okay, so I'm going to be making a square card, and so this measures 5 3/4. She says 5 3/4. Let me just double check. No, it doesn't. Yes, it does. 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 squared, obviously, so it's double that there. And then this piece measures 5.5 inches. So I'm using a brand new brayer so that you kind of get to see what it's like from start to finish. I'm using Pool Party ink, and the way I ink it up, you can kind of figure out other ways to do it, but the way I do it to make sure that I get ink all the way around the brayer is to push down and go to the end, come back, push down and do this. Because the danger is if you go backwards and forwards, you end up with a portion of the sponge that's not inked properly. So I just go from one side to the other and bring the brayer back. Okay, so I do that for about a few times because it's new. You know, it's not had ink on before. I do that quite a few times. I guess that was about 20 times. Next time when I bring ink, I probably do it about 10 times. Okay, so for this card, I actually only need the ink mainly in the middle portion of the card. So I'm just rubbing that on. And again, I'm going back, you know, forward and then coming back and then going forward again. And then I'm going to actually change directions by moving my card round, get a little bit more ink on there. And then just having another go. And then getting a bit more ink. Turn it around and having another go there. And then once there's quite a good amount of ink on there, I'm actually just then going to go kind of backwards and forwards. Okay, now you may be looking at this going, but hold on a second, she's left out the edges. Don't worry, I'm actually going to come in with a darker colour there, so I don't need to be going backwards and forwards at the edges. Now, what I have found is that when you start applying the ink, a lot of ink does pool around the areas that are supposed to resist. However, if you keep going and keep rubbing the ink in, more and more and more of the ink gets rubbed into the paper, and any on the shiny surface goes back onto your sponge brayer and then gets put back into the paper. So eventually your sponge brayer actually is cleaning off the ink from the shiny portions. Okay, so it's about a case of just keeping going. Then I'm going to bring in Dapper Denim here, and I'm actually going to swap out my sponges because it's quite a lot of shades darker, and so it's really easy just to pop the new one in. And I'm actually going to just be inking up half of the brayer. I don't want it all inked up, and the reason is because I only want a little bit of the colour going in there, and I'm actually going to start off the page and work my way onto the page gently, okay, because I want to build up the colour. I don't want lots and lots and lots of colour making its way to the centre. So I'm starting off and then bringing my way on because I want the centre to remain quite light, okay, as you can see there. So re-ink. So I'm only actually going to ring that 5 times because it's quite a juicy pad and it doesn't need a lot there. So I start off and very gently, very slowly, I'm going to make my way into the centre. Okay, so maybe I could have been a little bit more generous on the edge there, but less is more because you can always build up the colour later if you feel that you need any more colour on there. Okay, I'm just noticing that I need to get some of that colour off and rubbed in there. Okay, so you can sort of see that there's a graduation of colour because I didn't want it the same colour all the way around. I wanted to build up the colour to the centre. So as you can see, I sometimes go back to the beginning and then draw the colour back on. Okay, there we go. And then the last side. So just building up that colour there. And then you can kind of keep working it in and going over different portions as you see fit. Okay, so there we go. Even though the pool party, you know, is a little bit darker now in the centre, I've still got that graduation of colour. I've got the dark at the edge and then making its way to make it a bit lighter. I just think that gives a little bit more depth to an interest to the background. Okay, so then another nifty technique I've learnt using the brayer is a way of colouring a stamp before inking it, stamping it down. So I'm just making sure that's clean because I used it last time on a pink, so I think that's fine. Okay, so I'm inking up with Pool Party. Now you may notice that I've got arrows on here, and that's because I actually mounted up my stamp wrongly. So I need to have arrows to show me where to go when I stamp so that I can punch it out well. And I'm getting the darker blue, the Dapper Denim, and I'm just rolling around the edges of the stamp to create a two-tone effect on the stamp there. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp down, push down firmly, and there you have your two-toned flower. Now, it is worth cleaning off the stamp, even if it is just stamping on your grid paper, because you don't want that Dapper Denim then tainting the Pool Party or whatever colour you're using. So just be aware to clean your stamp every time you do this technique. A little bit more Dapper Denim there. Just going to roll a little bit on, and you can roll down as far as you want or as little as you want. You know, it's quite nice to experiment with all the different amounts of colour you want to use. I'm just going to stamp that down. Okay, so let's pop away all this lovely ink before I get more and more of it on my hands and then onto my card, which I usually end up doing. And so we're ready now to punch out these images, and this image fits beautifully into this flower medallion punch, and this flower is from the set Crazy. Is it Crazy About You? Yes, Crazy About You. Okay, there we go. And so I'm going to bring in my card now. I'm just going to mould my flowers. And I do that by getting some tweezers, thumb and finger over and twisting. This is a technique I love doing just to give a bit of extra dimension to flowers. So they pop off the page a little bit more. I think it just gives them an extra bit of dimension. There we go. Right, so I'm going to be using some of this gorgeous new burlap ribbon. I'm just going to pop down a bit of lovely tear and stick rather, or as it's affectionately known, the tearable tape. That just easily then sticks down that piece of ribbon there. And then I've already pre-cut some of these leaves from gorgeous new die set, the name of which escapes me right now. I think it's called, oh actually, Something Flourishes. Something Flourishes. I can't remember all of the names. I've got some pretty leaves from there. There we go, 3 will do. I'm just going to place those on there and get an idea of where I'm placing them. I think I'm happy with that. So all that remains for me to do is just put a little bit of Tombow on the backs of these, and you don't have to put it all over the leaves. Just in little spots is fine. There we go. Doesn't need a lot to stick it down. And if you do get glue in the wrong place, remember we've got our fabulous silicone rubber that will rub off the glue if you've got it in the wrong place. I know I should probably prick out all these little elements, but I'm I'm not too worried. It's kind of like a rusticy looking card, so it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It's perfectly imperfect. There we go. Right, let's get some of these dimensionals. Now it's worth sticking 2 or 3 on the backs of these flowers because they have been shaped. So don't forget to use your side pieces. They can be cut up and used. I like using them on sentiments. If I've got quite narrow sentiments, I'll chop those little pieces up into bits. Oh, maybe I did that a bit too far over, but never mind, I'm not going to move that now. Okay, and then I've been using these gorgeous little white accent dots. These are fairly new to Stampin' Up. We haven't had them a really long time, and they're just a little bit different. Create a little bit of extra interest there. So all that remains for me to do is stick this to my card base. And of course, if you wanted to add a sentiment, you can do. I'm quite a fan of making cards without sentiments and then adding what I need later on when I decide who I'm giving the card to. So don't be afraid of not putting a sentiment on. And sometimes it's nice to give a card without a sentiment if you know the person's going to treasure the card, because then it means that they can keep it up for longer than the event that you've sent it to them for. Right, well, thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope you've enjoyed this crafty creation with the sponge brayers. Do head over to my website, artfulstampin.co.uk, and don't forget to use the hostess code if you make a purchase, because I will then send you a free gift next month. Okay, thanks. Take care. Bye.